Hey everyone, hope everyone's having a good day. I'm Cam Davidson, I'll be your TA this semester, and this presentation is goal setting for everyone. So, quick introduction on myself. I was born in Kentville, Nova Scotia. I ended up going to Acadia, so only made it about 10 minutes away from home. Played 5 years of football there as a running back. Graduated with my Bachelor of Kinesiology in 2019. Was a 2017-18 academic All-Canadian. Definitely looks like it's 2 years there, but it was 1. Asked me about the 6 courses I took to get it someday. And then after that, I finished at Acadia. I took a coaching job at Horton and took what was an 0-8 program, and we won the provincial championship in 2019. Went 7-1, beat the only team that had beat us in the final, and was the offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator there. So really fun experience getting into my first full season coaching football, and then got an offer to be the Queen's football running backs coach. So came out here. Coach Schneider lets me do the signals on game day with Coach Osei and Coach Arhen, and work with the running backs. And I'm doing my master's sports psychology with Dr. Luke Martin out of the Plays Lab, and we're looking at the implications of injury on positional competition in sport. So goal setting introduction. Goal setting is the practice of establishing desirable objectives for one's actions. When I think of goal setting, I always think of Conor McGregor, somebody who came from next to nothing and really built his way up. This goal of being a UFC fighter, became one of the most prolific fighters in history and the first ever double champion in the UFC. And his comment is, "I visualize my imagination so clearly and so consistently that it's manifested itself into my reality." And goal setting is the most commonly used performance enhancement strategy in sport, and certainly something we see in the best of the best in their respective fields. So goal setting for our clients, it's important to understand our clients' goals because their program should be focused on facilitating and achieving these goals. So whether that's we're working with an individual and trying to achieve their goals, or we're working with a team and often getting coach-informed goals that most likely will be more based on performance metrics, things that can be tracked, so key performance indicators, and those are generally created by the coaching staff for the team as well. So understanding if it's an individual client versus a team goal you may be working with, and we'll get into the difference here right now. So what a goal is, and what we want to look at first is what a goal does. So it focuses attention on a task, provides motivation to increase the effort and intensity toward achieving said task, encourages your persistence, and it promotes the development of new strategies to help overcome barriers and setbacks. As you have a clear orientation towards what you're working for, now when challenges arise that were unexpected, you can navigate through a little bit easier since you know exactly what you're heading towards. So an individual goal is what an individual is trying to accomplish, the object or aim of an action, whereas a group goal is going to be the shared perception that refer to a desirable state for the group rather than the sum of the personal goals. So it's not just all of the individual goals stacked on top of each other, it's really a shared goal that the group is working towards achieve together. Goals can be technical goals, thinking about a skill or technique, a tactical goal, working on a strategy, a game plan, a physical goal, adding a little bit of weight to your bench press, dropping some time off your 40-yard dash, or it could be a psychological goal as well, so something that looks at your confidence, your focus, your imagery, maybe an environmental goal, which would be something like I'm going to lay down for 10 minutes each night and do some deliberate imagery practice toward achieving this goal I've set for myself. And once you get into that, then you're really deep in the goal setting and you're really driving the ship towards achieving those goals. So the types of goals you're going to have are process goals, performance goals, and outcome goals. Process goals focus on the specific behaviors that facilitate successful performance. So maintaining proper mechanics during a back pedal drill, if you're a defensive back trying to work on your brakes, something like that. Whereas a performance goal is going to focus on the standard of performance. So competing the regular season with 0 dropped passes, and positively wording that rather than negative. So avoiding saying things like "don't drop any passes." Saying completing with 0 drop passes is a kind of subtle change that can slip into the subconscious, and having it positively worded will go a long way. And then you have outcome goals, which are often the most difficult to track. It's the least tangible. They're focused on the end result of the performance, so leading the team in receptions per se. But that's really only realistic if you are at the top end. If it's within reach, again, hardest to quantify are outcome goals. So typically process performance goals are really the wheelhouse we want to be working from. And then breaking it into short-term and long-term goals. So a long-term goal is often what people are going to think of when you ask them what their goals are, and it's why they're doing it. It provides that meaningful pursuit for them. It's often not very well articulated and could be something like, "I want to run a marathon." Now, if you're in a place like me with running, then you'd be just absolutely miles and miles away from something like that. So that's when we get into short-term goals and we kind of break down these things that are going to help facilitate us achieving our long-term goals. So a long-term goal, again, is going to have an adjustable scope. So it could be 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years even. That's something you're trying to achieve. So short-term goals now are going to drive progress towards that long-term goal, often created with the trainer, or your coach, or your client. So it's going to be something that you're doing together. It could be one-on-one with the client, could be working with a coach as well for the team. And these are going to be the stepping stones that help drive progress toward achieving the long-term goal. They've broken down into weekly goals, into daily goals. things like that, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they allow the individual to understand what's going to be needed to reach those long-term goals. So do you have that long-term goal of running a marathon? Maybe starting today with running 1 kilometer will be something that's going to help drive you to get there. Some of the roadblocks that come up with goal setting is going to be setting too many goals, getting overwhelmed. So getting excited about this process right off the bat, but then coming in with too many things, kind of seeing there's all these things that aren't happening and getting overwhelmed, getting discouraged. It's failure to recognize individual differences. This is a really unique process. Everybody has different motivations, different things they're trying to achieve. So you really have to bring that individuality to it, encourage your clients to bring individuality to their goal setting, and make sure it really makes sense for them. Underestimating the implementation time, especially with things that are going to take major behavior changes in order to drive the person toward their end result, toward their goal. You really can't underestimate the implementation time. Sometimes it's going to take a few weeks to even get going to start progressing towards this goal, depending on the changes that are needed. So understand how long it's going to take to start doing these things. And then the failure to provide follow-up and evaluation is the big kicker. You really need to be flexible, be able to adapt, to adjust your goals if you're not making as much progress, to be able to adjust if you are making more progress than you anticipated, and set a new kind of exciting mark. So being able to evaluate, assess, reflect on your goals, and follow up with them is a big part of continuing successfully down this path of achieving your goals. So the elite goal setting process, and really something that can be applied for anybody, no matter what field you're in, whether it's physical activity, sport related or not. The elite goal setting process is going to start with setting ambitious, SMART plus goals. So something ambitious, but still it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented. And there's a couple more we'll get into with that acronym there on the next few slides. And they should be directly relevant to the advancement of your life. So again, driving towards those long-term goals. Develop simple implementation intentions that are going to directly drive positive behavior change. We'll get into that coming up as well. Then we're going to want to use goal insurance and accountability. So creating goal insurance, creating accountability is something that's big with sticking with the pursuit of our goals. Then we're going to bring in detailed imagery and positive self-talk. So these are going to help us see ourselves accomplishing our goals, help us eliminate doubt, stay oriented toward those goals. And then finally, we're going to regularly track our goals and adjust the goals when necessary. So I'm sure you're looking at this right now and thinking he hasn't touched on a single one of these things. Don't worry, it's all coming up, but I wanted to give you the outline of this is the process we're going to be working through before we cover it. So now, getting into that SMART plus goal construction. So self-selected. It's chosen by you, but it's expertly informed. So maybe it is that person working with you as a strength coach to find out what good goals are going to be for them. So there's that expert informed piece, but it's going to be self-selected at the end of the day. They have to autonomously choose their own goals. It's public, so it's both visible to you. It could be posted in your bedroom. It could be up on the fridge, and it's shared with others. So you talk to your friends and family about it. You talk to your housemates. You kind of make sure that people can see you're pursuing these goals. There's going to be a reward to it when you achieve it. So there's a certain challenge and there's going to be a certain payoff that you're really going to feel when you get to that goal. And that's a big part of driving the worthwhileness for why it's meaningful and why you pursue it. It's specific. There's clear target outcome and it's worded positively. So there has to be trackable metrics when we talk about tracking good goals, and that way we can reflect on them, assess our progress. If we just have something really vague like eat better, there's really no tangible way for me to know if I'm on target or not. So having a specific goal takes out a lot of the ambiguity with if you're progressing or not. It's measurable, so it uses stats, distances, rating scales. Again, it's something we can track. It's adjustable, so you can flex. You're flexible. You can come back to it. You can reassess. You can readjust if need be. It's realistic, so it's going to be difficult, but it's something that is still achievable for sure. And it's time-based, so there's a deadline for the goal. There's a time period within when you want to achieve it, and there's a little bit of a tracking strategy with it. So maybe you spend 15 minutes every Sunday night kind of going over your goals, planning out for the week, and figuring out how you're going to pursue those goals best. Now we get into setting an implementation intention. So this is a huge piece coming off goal setting, and these are going to be the things that really drive the behavior change now toward that goal, now that we have a goal in mind. So identify one of the goals you've set here. When, where, and how are you going to reach that? So when I am blank, I will do this, kind of as simple as that. So whenever I'm in the library, I will take the stairs instead of the elevator. So it can be something as simple as that, where, that's kind of just the first piece in driving that change for you. So if that's something that's going to be realistic for one of your clients, then that's a fantastic goal, and kind of a quick change where now you have the goal of whenever I'm in the library, I'm going to take the stairs instead of the elevator. There's a very clear action now we can take with whatever that works off, what that goal may be. That could be a goal to drop a few pounds. It could be a goal to lower your resting heart rate, whatever it may be. That's going to be something that facilitates that person getting towards that goal. So the implementation intentions are absolutely huge about driving the actual behavior change that's going to help us achieve these goals. An example for myself here, I'm a big book guy, but I just let a ton pile up that I haven't read yet, and my book list just keeps growing, but I'd feel way too guilty buying any more without reading them. So I've got 34 I haven't read yet. It's about 8,300 pages. Took me about 20, 30 minutes to go through and kind of check the page numbers, everything, find that out. And then just did some simple math at the start of the year, divided that up, and if I read 23 pages of a book per day, I'm going to be 34 books deeper by the end of 2022, which is really exciting for me, and the implementation intention there is to read those pages right after I drink up while I'm drinking some coffee. So something I've enjoyed so far at the start of this year, and a goal that I'm really excited about. And reading 34 books in a year seems like a really kind of unclimbable mountain, but when you do it, break it down like that, 23 pages, definitely something I can do, and staying consistent with it, I'll be really excited getting there by the end of the year. So quick example of how you can go from a goal to an implementation intention. Creating that goal insurance we want to do through frequency, visibility, and accountability. So on the frequency side, we're talking about checking our progress, reevaluating our goals, updating, monitoring our improvement, and really having that kind of reflectory piece in there as well. With visibility, that's when we talk to sharing with our friends and family, having it up in a room, having it posted, making sure that people can see we're pursuing these goals. And same thing with creating that accountability. Tell someone these are things that you want to work towards. Talk to your coach, talk to your teammates, your hostmates, and make sure there is that form of personal pressure that's going to drive you towards achieving this. So we want to create strong goal insurance as well as we go through the process here. Getting into imagery and positive self-talk here quickly, and something I wanted to briefly cover on because they really lend very nicely to goal setting, because you can use imagery to orient yourself towards your goals, to envision yourself achieving them, and you can use positive self-talk to kind of help cut out some of that doubt and keep driving yourself toward those goals. So imagery is creating or recreating images in one mind. So it mimics a real experience. So you can be aware of seeing the image, feeling the movements, knowing what the smell, the taste, and the sound of that moment are going to be, while still being awake and conscious, and kind of facilitating this dreamlike state that we're doing in a hope to drive performance later down the road. So it's going to include as many of the senses as we can bring into it, because we really want to create as detailed a picture. And I think that's where we get away from using the term visualization, which I think a lot of people kind of think of when they think of imagery, but we want to use imagery because it's not just the visual we're bringing in and what we're seeing. We want to bring in the sound, what it sounds like when you pop that big touchdown run on game day and hear the crowd roar. What does it smell like when you go into the locker room after that big victory, and you got everybody's sweaty bodies in there? What's that smell of success smell like? What's the tactile touch of it? How does everything feel? If you're gonna reach out to grab a basketball, snag a rebound, how does it feel when the ball touches your hands and you're bringing it down? And what are the movements like? So if you're gonna make a nice little cut in the hole to beat a defender before you break that big run, how does that movement feel? So really bringing all those things into your imagery practice, creating as detailed of a kind of mental movie as we can. And the functions of imagery are both cognitive and motivational. You guys can go through this a little bit more on your own, but it can be things where we're looking to improve a skill or technique. So we're imagining ourselves with our free throw technique, or everything to our arousal level when we look at the motivational side. Maybe I'm trying to get pumped up on game day, and now I'm just imagining myself before a game, kind of taking those deep breaths and getting myself psyched up to play. So now when I have those nerves before a game, I've gone through that imagery practice, I can kind of shake off those feelings a bit quicker and just focus on playing. So imagery is multidimensional. There's cognitive and motivational functions of it. Like anything, it's a skill that's going to be improved with practice. You can't expect to come in and be super great at it right off the bat. You're going to kind of have to find where it fits for you and how it's going to work in your life. And effective imagery is going to match the function to the desired outcome, so always seeing the end result we want to achieve, and it's going to be tailored to the individual needs. Again, so same with goal setting. It's really got to have that individual aspect brought towards it so that they're effective. It's going to be different for everybody. Positive self-talk now is really going to be that kind of just constant mental stream that runs through the mind. Sorry, as I skip past. So it's any statement or thought that's addressed to the self. So it's multidimensional and dynamic. For me, it's a little bit of an asshole back there, kind of always nagging and hacking away at you mentally. But your self-talk facilitates your focus on the present and keeps the mind from wandering, or is sometimes what makes the mind wander. So a big thing to focus on is the types of thoughts and kind of identifying those thoughts as they come in with those self-talk. So creating a bit of a mindfulness gap to be able to step back and say, is this a positive thought? Is this a negative thought? Or is this irrelevant? And just being able to say, I am not my thoughts, and kind of control your self-talk a little bit more can go a really long way in staying positive and orienting yourself towards achieving those goals, especially when it gets tough and you kind of want to be hard on yourself. You want to be negative. The functions of self-talk, again, are both cognitive and motivational. So same thing with skills. We could be talking about how we need to keep our knees up as we go through a drill to maintain technique, or we could be psyching ourselves up before a game on the motivational side, walking back and forth up and down the sideline going, I'm the best, kind of getting in that high energy performance state to go out and play. Tips for effective self-talk. It's going to be positively worded most of the time, so I can do this rather than I can't. It goes a long way getting into the subconscious and how we feel about ourselves. It's overt and self-selected, so it's very clear what we want to do, and or very clear the self-talk that we're having, and it's things that I've chosen that I want to say to myself. So something like a little simple phrase or mantra. And the easy one I think of is Nike's "Just Do It," where it's just kind of that little three-word catchphrase where maybe you don't have time to kind of go through the whole mental argument of if you should do this or that. Maybe you just kind of need that simple mantra to come back, just do it, and you get up and go hit the gym and push forward. So including things like that can be really helpful, and making sure they're facilitative and meaningful. So having something that brings a level of personal emotion to it. It's not just something you kind of throw off the cuff. So maybe it's not Nike's "Just Do It" for you, but maybe it's those 3-4 words, that kind of quick slogan that's really meaningful, that gets you fired up, gets you going. It's used frequently in practicing competition. It's something you can come back to, something you can really rely on, and is a practice that you come back to with your positive self-talk. You can kind of start more quickly identifying now when things are getting negative, if you have that little mantra or kind of your positive self-talk you consistently come back to. And it's controlled using thought stopping. So again, we talk about identifying negative thoughts, identifying irrelevant thoughts. When we can do that and we can orient ourselves back in the moment, back towards our goals, then we're doing really great with our positive self-talk. So back to just to recap that elite goal setting process, now that we've actually kind of covered the 1 through 6 there. We want to set ambitious, smart plus goals that are directly relevant to the advancement of our life, that are directly relevant towards pushing us towards our long-term goals. We want to develop simple implementation intentions that directly drive that positive behavior change, create goal insurance and accountability through frequency and visibility there. Use detailed imagery deliberately to see ourselves accomplishing our goals, so really envisioning it, really bringing these goals, the achievement of these goals to life each night potentially, and using positive self-talk to eliminate doubt and consistently orient yourself towards your goals, and then regularly tracking our goals, adjusting when necessary. So really appreciate the time today, guys. This is goal setting for everyone. I hope it's been beneficial for you guys to listen, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for the time.